Congress being on the same playing field. They're not on the same playing field as it relates to retirement, are they? Pensions?
We have the we have the same retirement program as other federal employees. So if you work for Department of Treasury or any other Department of State,
there's no place in the U.S. that you could go and work a job for 4 years and retire at same pay.
And that's completely false about Congress too, by the way. It's on the order of if you work 20 years, maybe you get half your salary. I mean, it's the same as other federal departments. If I work 4 years, 0 pension. 6 years, 0 pension. I tell the truth, I'm not in it for the pension. I don't know exactly when it starts. 10, 12 years, it probably starts. It's 5 years? Okay. And then it's quite low, obviously, at that level. But it's we have the same, normally, the default for Congress is same as other federal departments. So you work for Department of, whatever, Interior, same benefits. The only difference now is that we will not be part of the federal health care plan for the other federal departments. We're going to be in the exchanges with a lot of small businesses.
So on the retirement plan, Congress does benefit people in Congress just the same as all the federal employees do. They have no risk associated with their retirement. Everything about their retirement is determined politically. I think it should be switched over from a defined benefit plan to defined contribution plan, which reflects what the vast majority of us have to deal with in the private life, which are 401ks, where part of your compensation, you voluntarily put your money in, and you decide when you're old enough and have enough assets in which you can retire. Not somebody in the federal government determines that. The taxpayer will make sure that you can retire at age 50 or 55 or whatever the age might be, okay, with no risk except to the taxpayer. It's all on the taxpayer.
And I'd be happy with that.
I think the issue is better stated by looking at how the Congress has handled the Social Security retirement fund. They've spent it all. All of the excess revenues of Social Security are gone. There's nothing there but, basically, you owe me retirement. You owe me retirement. Taxpayers, it's all on the taxpayer now. All of the baby boomers retire, and all the younger people are going to be paying those Social Security benefits. I was at we were at a deal at the CU Law School the other day, and I told the law students, I said, you're all going to be lawyers, but what are you going to do for your second job? Because you're going to have a second job. While I'm playing golf and going on cruises, you're going to be paying for my Medicare and Social Security. How's that feel?
Question in this poll is you started off your comments almost negatively against the Congress, things of this and that. How much does you've been there, how much influence does one person have?
Yeah, obviously if, no one district or their congressperson can control this whole country, it would be nice on your behalf if any one of us could. I think all three of us represent values that are superior to the values of our national parties to a certain extent, but we can't. So I am frustrated that Congress did nothing on immigration. Frankly, I'm frustrated we did nothing on education. Is it a good health care bill? It's better than not having taken action. I helped write parts of it. I actually opposed it in a committee, and they took out some of the tax increases. They made it better for small businesses, and that gained my support. I didn't get to write it. Look, that's kind of 1 out of 435. The best way that I've been able to be effective is by getting coalitions around different groups. So if you can, one person, they just ignore you. You say, I'm against it, they say, they being the leadership, the committee chairs, they say, fine, you oppose it. And there's people on both sides, the left and the right, that kind of marginalize themselves that way. They never vote for anything major, and no one really listens to them. I mean, they're good voices to have, but they're not part of the legislative process. What I try to do is I try to say, God, this would be so much better if it had this, this, and this. Here's another 12, 15 members who feel the same way. Let's get rid of this tax increase. Or let's, what we did in the financial regulatory reform bill is we helped make sure that it had an exemption from Sarbanes-Oxley for companies under a $75 million market cap. We raised the threshold on where there'd be increased transparency in private equity funds, so small private equity funds wouldn't have that extra paperwork. So we did those things to get our support. So I can be very effective in changing, in important ways, major pieces of legislation with 10 or 15 others that are like-minded. Secondly, I can be very effective in championing very, very focused things. Like I came up with this idea of this entrepreneur visa, this startup visa. I've worked it so that will be part of any immigration reform. Now, I need a whole lot of others to pass immigration reform, but when we do, this idea of entrepreneurs from other countries who are backed by venture capital. Because of my work, that'll be in it. And by the way, there's 3 or 4 projects in Colorado right now that want to use that to finance their projects, and they're ready to go. Companies that want to relocate here that I've been talking to. So that's an example of how it can be effective.
The other gentleman.
Let's go to the other.
Well, I'll start with this and basically say that what Congressman Polis is talking about is the government doing more. Okay? And maybe it's doing more a little bit this way or more a little bit that way, but it's doing more. The government is already broke. It already has too much power. Now, what can I do as one libertarian in the United States Congress? Well, here's the deal. Everybody knows that this next election is going to end up with more balance between Republicans and Democrats in the Congress. You know, the Republicans may control, the Democrats may control, but it's going to be close. As a libertarian, independent of those 2 parties, I actually could work between the parties to try to bring some sanity to what's going on in the federal government.
When you deal with legislation, there are important principles that are always at stake. And the principle, for example, in Obamacare, is that the government will control your options, your choices, and tell you what you can and cannot do. Once you concede those principles and you try to put a little bit of window dressing or lipstick on the pig, so to speak, it doesn't change the fact that it's still a pig. All right? So what can one person do? One person can stand up for principle. They can stand up for what is right. And through the veracity of their ideas and the truth in reality, they can hope to bring along everybody else with them. And if not the Congress, then at least to build that support out there with the rest of the country. These things do not deserve to go forward. Doing nothing would have been better than passing Obamacare. It is going to be that harmful to this country. That's what we need to look forward to. That's what leaders do. They don't sit there and chisel away at what somebody else is putting together as a masterpiece. Leaders set the tone. This is the direction that we need to go. And you don't need to be in Congress for 25 years to step forward and do that.